Welcome, everybody. I'm your host, Class, and this is my co-host right next to me,
Mr. J. What's going on, guys?
Hey, what's going on? And we're here to talk about the first season of Cobra Kai on Netflix. And actually, surprisingly, fun fact, Cobra Kai was on YouTube before it went to Netflix, which was a really interesting concept to where it winded up because it got its second season.
Is that why I thought I remember hearing it a lot on YouTube?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's actually official, and that's pretty cool. I mean, Johnny... I remember Johnny when he showed up at How I Met Your Mother. I know that's funny, but he actually showed up with...
Johnny Lawrence?
Yeah, because Barney was a huge fan of him. Sorry, that's not COVID, guys. He was a huge fan of him, and he said, like, he should have won at the end, and, you know, he thought he got screwed, and yada, 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 and then Johnny actually did show up on the show. And I feel like that's when Johnny was like, hey, I'm gonna do Cobra Kai, why not? And surprisingly successful. It was great.
Yeah.
I mean, let's talk about the first season. I don't really got a lot of negative things to say about the first season besides just a minor, like, just a nitpick thing. That's it. Like, the end of the episode.
Oh, is that what it is?
That's it. The season finale, you know, I felt like there was a lot more potential to the season finale. I talked to my boy about it. I brought it up when the whole hawk kicking thing. I mean, sorry if this feels like a spoilers or whatever. But there was a situation with hawk kicking something, and I feel like that was not believable enough to have happened and to occur. And you guys will see that when you guys see if you guys do see the show. Here, we're trying to make our case to tell you guys why you should see it. Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look. If you're any kind of a fan from the original trilogy, it does kind of do something for you, especially if you're a fan of the first movie. You know, it definitely continues mainly off of that rather than the other two or even the fourth one with Hilary Swank.
Yeah.
But it's mainly just a direct sequel of the first movie. And, you know, there's a lot of elements from that they bring into it. You know, there's a lot of references, there's a lot of clips, and it really familiarizes you with the story in the background.
Yeah.
And even if you don't know what's going on, like, it gives you enough information to where you can kind of follow, and you're just like, oh, so that guy pushed him off his bike with his buddies. Okay, I got it. He was a prick to him in high school. You know? Like, you get the gist of it. And, honestly, Johnny is having the same problem that a lot of us are having. Johnny's just stuck in the 80s, and he just doesn't realize it yet.
Yeah. Yeah,
it's great, man. It's great. The soundtrack for this show is awesome.
It's all 80s theme vibe, you know?
It's so 80s.
It's straight up 80s great. Vibe. Even the whole movie, even the show itself is an 80 vibe, man.
Yeah. Come on, man. Cobra Kai.
Yeah. And honestly, so let's talk about it because I don't think you guys know anything about Cobra Kai. Maybe the people that don't know. No mercy in this dojo. It's incredible. So Johnny was a rival to another guy named Russo. And back in the day, his name is something Billy Russo, right?
No.
La Russo. Yeah, it's Russo.
Daniel LaRusso.
Daniel Russo, there you go.
Billy Russo is from The Punisher.
Yeah, okay. So, Daniel LaRusso, back in the day, had this rivalry from the Karate Kid. And this kid, Johnny, used to pick on him. He was a little bit bigger and all that, and he knew karate. And eventually, it turns out that they wind up in a tournament, and Johnny loses to LaRusso. But, you know, surprisingly...
with an illegal front kick.
Yeah, and it's a twist because it turns out that later on, like in life, Johnny just actually gives up on pretty much life.
Oh, yeah, man. His life pretty much ended in that tournament.
Yeah, and he pretty much just, you know, wasting away pretty much in his whole... And that's pretty much the beginning of the story of what's going to happen, because then you actually do get to see LaRusso, because it's crazy that they bring back the old characters from the original movie from the 80s.
Oh, yeah. They
crazy.
definitely brought back...
They threw a lot of throwbacks in there, dude.
Dude, they brought back so much of the original cast as they could. The mom's even the same.
Yeah, it was crazy. It's crazy. So the fact that they're committed to the original cast, and honestly, the story development in it too was just kind of like, it was good.
Yeah, it's very good.
It was like, it's new generation meeting old school generation.
Yeah.
And it actually had almost kind of like, you could get relatable in the vibe of what was going down between the kids and their little situation with their high school little issues, and then
there's definitely a couple points and times where it gets really teeny, teenage, high school, and those are definitely probably a little bit more difficult.
Yeah,
and not as relatable for the older audience, but for the newer kids, I think they really, they dig it, and they really understand.
But I feel like they blend both of them together, the old school, John, because you do get to see Johnny and LaRusso and their issues with each other and their difficulties with life and all that stuff. So you get to see an old school story being told while a younger generation story is being told at the same time.
Yeah.
I think that's what's so great about this show, that it collides with two generations and bringing them to coexist in some kind of weird, bizarre way. Because Johnny, he grows in the show. Yeah. LaRusso, he also changes perspectives in his past. There's a lot of great chemistry being built on this.
Really, all I can say about the show in itself is perspective.
Yeah.
I mean, really, as soon as you watch the show, you'll understand what I mean by that, because the movie obviously takes place from a different person's perspective. The movie took place from Daniel's perspective, so you get to really sympathize and feel for him. But in the show, it's more of Johnny's perspective. So in his head, he's the one that's right. He was the one, kind of being picked on, or in a sense, he was the one that was wronged.
Yeah,
and
I agree with that.
In his head, he really didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah, and
so I mean, really, as far as perspective goes, it depends on who's looking at it. You know what I mean?
I agree with that, because it really depends. Yeah, because in this show, you get to see two different perspectives.
Yeah,
and you root for kind of both in its own way, because then at the same time, even with the younger generation, you got a conflict in there that has a mixed ties with the older generation, and in that essence, that's being it's being examined in so many different ways. You can see it from one perspective to another perspective, who's at the right, who's at the wrong. You also have to look at it in when you were young and stupid, or when you're older and wiser. There's all this different ways to see which way it's going to go as far as character-wise, as far as the older generation and the younger generation.
Yeah, and another thing I personally think it brings up is, questioning is if you're a good person, you're trying to do the right thing, and you're trying to do something good, but you're being a prick about it, and you're doing something bad, but you're trying to do it for a good reason, it's does that kind of make you kind of a prick? You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's why you get... There's so much conflict to kind of make you think about different sides. Maybe you're one of those one-sided person where no, I totally agree on this person. But there's more to it, honestly, when you watch the show. There's more sides that you're looking at, and you're oh, I never look at it that way. And then you're oh, well, you got to look at it in this perspective and all this stuff. Because, Johnny is trying to make, in the show, he's trying to make his life better, in that essence. And
Johnny's really doing the best with what he has left.
Yep.
That's all he's really trying to do.
Yep. And that's why the season is so great, because it ended. And on top of that, we got to see a lot of great stuff. We got to see LaRusso's daughter. I mean, you got to see her abilities. I'm not gonna spoil too much on that, but it's fun to see some of the characters that are added onto the show. They become their own person.
The way they develop.
Yeah, they become you just never see it coming. If you see them in the beginning, and you watch maybe 4 or 5 episodes of them doing the same thing, you would have never thought in a million years they wind up where they turn out later in the show. And then you see it, and you're like, wow, these people are blowing my mind.
One of the main characters, Miguel, he was definitely a turnaround.
Oh, yeah, he was
I wasn't sure, I was just like,
yeah, me too.
Is he going to be able to train this kid? And then, the kid just, he found something to properly motivate him. And, he found someone to pretty much believe in him, which was Johnny. But at the same time, Johnny was kind of... The kid was all he had. He was the only one believing in him, so they had each other.
Yeah.
So it kind of just shows you if, like, someone's got your back and someone's willing to believe in you, then, like, okay, I have that one person.
Yeah, and it's crazy because the unusual relationship you got. You got the older guy who's stuck in the 80s, and then you got this young kid who's in his current generation dealing with high school problems,
It was definitely like what happens when old school meets new school.
Yeah, it's like, it's crazy how it turns out. And then, so they build up on that, and they develop such great chemistry. And I think the show really shows.
They find common ground.
Yeah, they do. And at the same time, you get to see a lot of other interesting characters are added in there. There's a lot of female actual, involvement in there, too, which is interesting. I actually think that...
a lot of female characters.
You think a karate show, you're like, oh, it's going to be all guys. There's going to be a whole bunch of dudes and stuff. Nope.
Definitely
it's not like that about this show. This show actually has a lot of diversity. And it keeps you intrigued, and it has all the right stuff, and you get to see a lot of cool karate moves. I honestly got to see. I think it was fun. I was seeing a karate tournament, and it said something about being there. They said 50 years, and I was like, "Yo, you guys have had karate tournaments for 50 years?" And that's not true. Oh, it's BS.
In the show, obviously it happens in the show, but in real life, no, there's no All Valley karate tournament.
Get out of here. No. I mean, karate tournaments in general.
I'm pretty sure they have karate tournaments.
But have they had it for 50 years?
I don't know.
That's the thing. The show, they brought it up in there. I don't know if that's an actual fact. Sometimes when you watch a show, they bring some information in there that might be accurate, and sometimes it's just something they're just saying and they just add it into the writer's screen, or into the script. But because if it's true, I've been missing out because karate's been around for a while.
Yeah.
It's been around for a long time, and I don't really know but this show gives it a chance for you to see karate in a whole new way. It's not just letting your kids go over there and train for a little bit, and now they know how to defend themselves from a rape situation. No, it's more about getting to see karate as its true nature. You get to see it being used in a bad situation and in a good situation.
Yeah, you get to see both sides of it when it's used in offensively and defensively.
Yeah,
which according to Mr. Miyagi, he's just Daniel-san, karate for self-defense only.
Yeah.
Rule number 1, self-defense only.
Yeah, and
rule number 2, learn number 1.
And I like that because I think we don't need to be the bully because we can be. Joe Rogan, he's the perfect example of that. Joe Rogan is the jiu-jitsu fighter. Every one of his people he goes and interviews on his show, he doesn't get intimidated by them at all and they know he's not intimidated because for some reason he is very confident in his ability to beat a mother fudger down.
Yeah.
So he just kind of stays zen and peaceful. He doesn't get mad. He doesn't get confrontational. He kind of stays rational because he knows that if he really ever needed to get into a brawl, he would do it for the right reasons.
Yeah.
It'd be for necessary reasons, not just because, oh hey, somebody's calling me out and I just need to beat the baddest mother out there. No, he's just no, I don't need that, dude. I don't need to do that. And that's what kind of this show kind of presents itself in when you see Mr. Miyagi's teachings brought back to life.
Yeah.
And you also get to see kind of a cooler way of of karate showing you how to, persevere in life with that attitude,
Strike first, strike hard.
Oh, anyways, I guess we made our point, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, because this there's really not much you can say. Honestly, just all in all, it's it's like if you wanted to be in an 80s vibe, or you wanted to know what 80s vibe felt like, watch the show. I mean, just give it a chance.
This show screams 80s.
I mean, we're not just talking like they're not wearing clothes that are the 80s. We're just talking like 80s music theme and pretty much 80s car and all that stuff. Like, there's a lot of interesting stuff here. Yeah, there's a lot of commitment made on this show, so I'll just give it like that. I'll give it that credit.
Yeah.
So we'll end it like that, guys. If you guys like this, add, share, subscribe, whatever you guys do on these podcast things. I really don't know. But as always, really appreciate you guys. Catch you guys later, right? Peace. Intro music and ending credits is special thanks to Full Stack with Music Radio Waves. Also want to thank the No Pressure channel for all the